In the vast majority of my Lostwave investigation videos, I've discussed Lostwave songs with their own dedicated channels, or part of some of the best known group channels, or plain and simply Lostwave songs you've more than likely heard of. So I thought for a change of pace, it'd be time to tell you about 5 lesser known Lostwave songs, plus 1 bonus. So let's get started. Record scratch! I was actually planning on discussing Count the Days here, and, well, Count the Days actually briefly had a channel on FMM before it didn't. What happened? Well, long story short, after the solve of People of the World led to the conclusion that it was hoaxed, we became a lot more suspicious of Count the Days. Maybe I'll make a video about it once the dust has settled, especially if this video is popular. I know the artist that made Count the Days is really awesome. They've actually agreed to have an interview with me, so I think that's probably going to happen. But for right now, I go on. Yet another record scratch. See, I've been taking a little bit longer to get these videos out. I have son of distraction and now daughter of distraction, and, well, as you may imagine, kids keep me busy. As a result, video output has gone down a little bit. Hopefully I'll get that back up soon now that my kids are both getting a little bit older. But in the meantime, it means that this video that I've been working on for, I don't know, a few weeks now has kind of gotten outdated in that since I started making this video, 2 of the songs in it have become solved. And so I'm going to be talking about those songs as if they were unsolved, which is going to be a little bit off-putting, but just bear with me because at the end of those segments, I will have a little update on how those songs got solved. Also, I noticed in the midst of editing this that for some reason the sound quality and lighting in the second half of this is way off. I did film this in chunks. I kind of have to because, again, kids. So with that said, let's get started, shall we? And I start with My Embrace, part of the Central Music Songs grouped channel. Originally posted on What's That Song by, well, Central Music, this rock song definitely stands out. Full of shouty vocals, this song goes hard. Biscuit Bikes fan discussed if it could be on Discogs, and if it is, that it's probably not called My Embrace. VisualConfusion put together lyrics for it and mentioned having a heart attack upon seeing this album by a band called Embrace Today with a song called Back Where We Started, which aligns with the lyrics. Luckily, that was on YouTube and was easy to rule out. Beyond that, not much more progress has really been made. There's been speculation that it could be on vinyl, that it could be on Bandcamp, or that it could be French. There was a long-shot lead proposed by SktSkf, but it seemed pretty unlikely. In my research for this song, the most common suggestion was, in fact, perhaps appropriately, that My Embrace is somewhere on YouTube. And with that, we move on to my favorite song in this video. Yes, I can play favorites. In fact, I'll go as far as saying this is my absolute favorite unsolved Lostwave song. And it is not for everyone. It's quirky. It's not quite Little Music Bags quirky, but it's somewhere around Trip to Rio quirky. I suppose you'd call it a new wave song, and this Lostwave song has, I kid you not, one of the most intriguing sub-mysteries to it. Because this is one of the extremely rare cases where we actually have a recording of the DJ that played this song telling us both the name of the song and who the song is by. Oh, and we have the exact date as well, May 31st, 1980. Neurosis. So, why is the song unsolved? Well, before I answer that, let me tell you a little bit about the DJ in question, Rodney Bingenheimer. Rodney has been considered by many to be an institution, both in music and as a DJ. Wikipedia notes him as being the first DJ to play bands including the Ramones, Social Distortion, Oasis, No Doubt, The Offspring, the B-52s, and more. And he's a character, larger than life, with a very distinct manner of talking. Now, I don't want to linger on Rodney much longer as recent allegations indicate he's, well, let's just say, problematic. But I do remember listening to K-Rock, the station that he DJ'd on, and the morning radio DJs making fun of him and his almost encyclopedic music knowledge. This is all important context because it was Rodney who played this song, and it was Rodney who said this song and band was The Young Executives by New Numerolus.
And we heard something brand new by a group called Neurosis doing the Young Executives.
Now, first off, I'm sure you've noticed several things wrong here. First, the song title and band name have almost certainly been accidentally switched. I'm extremely confident in saying that the name of this song isn't The Young Executives. Second, I think Rodney meant to say Neurosis and not Numerolus, and given that this is Rodney and his almost certain drug use, I suppose it's not too surprising that Rodney got this a bit wrong. It also is why it probably is not worth it to reach out to Rodney, even if we could contact him. That then leaves the question, is this song by a band called The Young Executives, or was that wrong as well? Well, maybe, or maybe not. Things seemed promising when we found this band from the early 1980s, The Young Executives. Fronted by the Salagi brothers, and get this, they even got K-Rock airplay. So, are you surprised that this song actually is solved? Well, it isn't. It turns out that this Young Executives didn't get their start until 1981. And they also flat out confirmed New Neurosis wasn't by them. There are also a number of other young executives that seem promising. This group on Discogs was formed too late to fit the bill, while this group with US copyright entries would seem to have been time appropriate, but we'd also get a hold of them, and of course, it wouldn't be that easy. And so, that's where things stand with this one. So, let's move on to No Gimmicks. And here we have a bit of a rarity, a rap Lostwave track. And all we had to go off of outside the track itself was that it sampled Gang Starr's Mass Appeal, which itself was released in 1994 and would likely place this track around the same time. Starting off strong, user aidnic found a song called No Gimmicks that could fit the bill, but it was readily available on YouTube and would quickly rule that one out. There's also a copyright entry for a song from 1995 called No Gimmicks that this YouTube commenter claims that they've ruled out. We also discussed the context of the lyrics, including the fact this song was likely a diss track and called out artists like Sir Mix-a-Lot and Eazy-E. User beeszees pointed out another likely sample in the song which would firmly place New Gimmicks around 1994. And a discovery by Collin, a lyric referring to the character Big Worm from the 1995 movie Friday, would place this song's release as after April 1995. Also, let it be known that this is not the 1995 song No Gimmicks by Lord Finesse, and that Lord Finesse's No Gimmicks deserves to die a painful death. And now we go on to a song that got so popular, it got a channel while I was scripting this. But it's still in here because I really don't want to scrap the writing and research I did for this. So I'm going to continue with this song, So Sick of Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, man, I'm so sick of Los Angeles.
Which has absolutely exploded over the last month. Posted all the way back in 2011, the attention this sample seems to have received recently has been hard to ignore. Described by OrangeOzarka as the less talented cousin of Sublime and The Offspring, this incomplete sample very accurately addresses gripes with Los Angeles. And I say this as someone who spent a decade of his life living in LA. Starting off, a song view entry was found by Pancake, but was quickly ruled out by aidnic. Pancake also asked the big Los Angeles subreddits, but that went nowhere. Then Pancake discovered one of the weirdest song search rabbit holes I've ever seen. It turns out there's a site you can use to see who a YouTube user is subscribed to, and now's my chance to say, if you haven't already, subscribe to me. So Pancake used that tool with the original poster of this song, Andy, and discovered 2 blank YouTube accounts that led back to Andy. And I'll come back to this rabbit hole, but before we do, a brief sidetrack, as we'd also find somebody seemingly quoting a lyric from this song on Twitter, connected to the defunct website joescandal.com, but it could admittedly be a coincidence, and looking more into this really didn't lead anywhere, but it is still sitting on the back burner, so to speak. So, back to that rabbit hole. Pancake found some German websites with one of those YouTube usernames and, long story short, was able to get a real name out of it. For privacy, I'm censoring his last name here, but the name we were looking at was E-Ray. The only other lead for this song was 2 other uploads by the original poster, both fairly obscure songs by indie artists. Oh, and apparently one of those songs was, I kid you not, either on the MTV show Teen Mom or 16 and Pregnant. And this would in fact lead us into looking into the possibility that this song was also from one of those sources. Though I'd thought it unlikely given the profanity in the sample we'd have, but well, it turns out that MTV had used another song with profanity and simply cut around it, and it's possible that's exactly what they did here too. And that was where things stood until user RayZox57 went into his collection of MySpace archived music. So RayZox57 used this music identification tool to basically match the sample we had against his entire database and found our match. In this case, Los Scandalous, although I've also seen it referred to as Los Angeles by Jeremy Jackson. And, well, that's how he solved So Sick of Los Angeles. So the next song I'm going to be talking about, well, let's just say it's weird. Actually, now that I think about it, it's just a little weird.
Yeah, we're all a little weird. Yeah, we're all a little weird.
Okay, sorry for the dumb joke, but this song, We're All a Little Weird, is part of the Tipo Dual Songs group channel, though the search for this song began before the Tipo Dual group channel was created. From the start, this song seemed like something straight from the Disney Channel. Sounding like a poor man's Good Charlotte, this song was, well, at least incredibly repetitive. Anyway, that whole Disney Channel thing, well, it turned out to be almost right on the money, as this song was used in an episode of the Family Channel show The Latest Buzz. Sadly, both one of the music producers for the show, as well as the music supervisor on the show, didn't remember the song or where they could have licensed it from. Funado found a promising database entry for a song called That's So Weird, but that was ruled out very quickly. And since we're talking about a song that says a little weird about a million times, here's something that's, well, just that. Tipo Dual would seem to get upset at us solving his samples. I gotta quote Zero here. They're not a bad OP, but they sure are a strange one. And though there's still a number of people that worked on The Latest Buzz that we could act, it's clear that the two people most likely to know don't. And also, that the song probably isn't called We're All a Little Weird, despite the repetition. And that was where things stood until user Capy reached out to the production company that made The Latest Buzz and asked them a question that I'm surprised we didn't think to ask them earlier, which is, do you have records related to this show? See, most movies and TV shows have to keep pretty extensive records of the music they're using, the actors that are in it, all sorts of things in order to pay those people residuals. As a result, Capy said, well, hey, you guys have this sheet of the music that was used in the show, and specifically on this episode. And to my surprise, got a response, and it was very thorough. It was like, yeah, here are all the songs that were used in this episode, including the song Weird by Paul Rosevere. And that's how that one was solved. So let's continue to move on. And I'd be wrapping up this video now, but I couldn't help but include a song that's not only one of my favorite unsolved Lostwave songs, but a song that, as mods, we haven't added as a channel or even allowed in the polls for one specific reason. And no, I'm not talking about That's What I Like About You. And if you'd like me to risk canceling myself and make a video about that one, let me know in the comments below. But no, in this case, the song in question, How Can This Happen, hasn't been added because, in all likelihood, it's solved.
How can this happen? Hey, hey, does anybody care about it anyway?
Let's rewind to the early search for this song. Rain thought he was onto something with a song called Kathy Come Home, but was able to rule it out after a bit of searching. Then, Funado found a track that fit the bill for this song to a T. Irish rock from 1992. Heck, this song, Hotel Room by the band Goats Don't Shave, was pretty much the exact length as the sample we have, which had been recorded off live radio in the UK in 1992. Sadly, a Discog super user would tell us that How Can This Happen wasn't Hotel Room, and probably wasn't Goats Don't Shave at all. Anyway, Funado and myself still made attempts to contact Pat Gallagher, the lead singer of Goats Don't Shave, multiple times, because we felt if anyone would be able to solve this mystery, it was him. In fact, he has a wedding band. This is actually one of several ways both Funado and I tried to contact Pat, but sadly, no luck. I'd also like to briefly discuss a theory I shared, because I still believe this could be the case, that this song could be based on real events. And if so, that could provide some answer as to why we seem unable to get a reply from Pat. Though that's still pure speculation on my part. Oh, and Erin bought the album with Hotel Room on it, so at least we could finally rule that out. Then aidnic would ask a question that I ended up asking and looking into. What about contacting the other members of Goats Don't Shave? Well, they're seemingly impossible to find, which is really, I cannot understate this enough, incredibly frustrating. In the meantime, I reached out to Jeff Wallace, the owner of IrishMusicReview.com, and shared this track with him, along with our suspicions. And he said, with no doubt whatsoever, that this song was definitely by Pat Gallagher. Oh, and apparently, Pat wrote songs prolifically in the early 90s as well. Also, it turned out that Pat was part of a band called Roaring Meg before Goats Don't Shave, who apparently did put out an album. And that album was so seemingly obscure that Jeff Wallace himself didn't think it existed, despite Roaring Meg's website saying it did. And whether we ever actually solve this song really depends on if we can get a hold of Pat or try to figure out one of the other people played on the song and get a hold of them. It's a challenge either way. I really hope we can solve it because it's such a catchy song and it'd be really nice to have a little bit of closure on it. And that does it for this edition of lesser known Lostwave songs. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And until next time, I'm PersonOfDistraction, and I'm now listening to
I've got the